You didn't seriously think I was gonna keep doing mouse videos, did ya?
The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
A little bit of editing room magic here, because, let's face it, we have to do things out of order, because who wants to see a title screen of just the box? So, it's about time we picked up a new laptop, I know. Doesn't seem like it's been long. What about the Turdshiba? The Turdshiba is over 5 years old. What about the netbook? Rubbish is nearly 10 years old, and it was a low-end netbook in 2012. So yeah, the silent march of time has done its thing. The Turdshiba, meanwhile, has had little things breaking on it for pretty much its entire lifespan. The processor is so old it doesn't even have microcode updates for Spectre and Meltdown, never mind compatibility for Windows 11. And it's just, you know, the Turdshiba, I originally picked that up in case I had to go on a business trip or something else where I needed a laptop. If one of those situations came up for whatever reason, I would not feel comfortable taking the Turdshiba anywhere. It's the clunkiest piece of junk I've ever had, little things breaking on it. And so, it's been about 5 years or so, give or take a few months, since the Lenovo thing with making that Lenovo setup work for my dad back in 2016. I think it's about time I got in on the fun. So Lenovo it is. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the box that contains the successor to the Turdshiba. And here it is. The Lenovo IdeaPad 15-inch model, and it basically is yet another MacBook ripoff. Most laptops these days are MacBook ripoffs. There is no more plasticky feel to them or anything. They have the whole metal thing going on. Metal! They have the whole metal thing going on, and I mean, laptops are devices that compete with smartphones and tablets nowadays. So, if you're gonna buy a laptop, you probably want to buy a laptop specifically because it's a laptop. Alright, let's pop this open and do the honors. Haven't had to do this since the heydays of the Turdshiba, or the early days of the Turdshiba. Boom! The thing that keeps it from getting scratched up while being shipped is out. And here we are, nice and smooth and whatnot. QR code for support in this smartphone era and whatnot. Card reader, some USB, and a USB-C in here somewhere. Matter of fact, what kind of power cord is this? USB-C power! Makes me wonder if I could plug this in. Makes me wonder how much power does this require to run? Let's take a look at this little thing here. It's got all the shiny stuff on it. Well, let's take off the shiny stuff. Can you do it with one hand? It's wrapping all over the place. We'll take that off later. Yeah, here we go. Please remove when first used. Keyboard's not too bad, although it is pretty much a chiclet keyboard, and it's basically metal and stuff. Quite a departure from what the Turdshiba originally was. How about we open that screen up a little more before we start getting fingerprints all over it? What's this? Please remove. I don't know if ever. Oh no, it has a privacy shutter up here, so we can just close the. You just close the shutter and whatnot. We don't want to use the webcam. Something the Turdshiba didn't have, or rubbish, or anything else like that. So yeah, this is what it means to pick up a laptop in the 2020s. You know, get one that's mid-range, so it's not a total chunk of plastic that you hope your kids don't break in 2 days ago. But here's the thing. 8 gigs of RAM, I think it's upgradable, and an SSD right out the bat. So I don't have to get rid of some horrendous mechanical drive in order to put a solid-state drive in this thing. Given the current part shortages and whatnot, the back-to-school specials and other discounts that are going on right now basically helped to bring the price down to something I would spring for. Still not as much of a rip-off as my very, very, very first laptop, which I sacrificed a tax refund for $700 for an Intel Core Solo back in the late 2000s. Ah yes, those were the days. Let's finish hooking this thing up. So I went looking to try and read the fine print on this and whatnot. It's a 65 watt power block, and it's in big letters on it and stuff like that. Just plugging this thing in is already drawing 45 watts, so it's probably charging this thing. It's interesting because this is something new with laptops. You have, oh yeah, it's charging. So you have USB-C to charge the laptop, and then, what's that, an indicator or something? No, that's the HDMI. You have, watch the side, watch the trim on the side of the table. Anyways. So it's a USB-C to charge the laptop, and then this USB-C port, when this thing's being used normally, can actually be used as a power delivery port to charge something with a C to C cable. I'm gonna have to check that out. It'd be interesting to be able to charge the phone off this thing. So at minimum, your laptop, if you're not actually using it as a laptop, can serve as a power bank for a USB-C device. All right, let's stop glitching out the camera here. Let's turn this thing on and go into Windows 10. A bit hard to move the hinge, which means it's a bit of an improvement. Howdy, folks. Which means it's a bit of an improvement through a dark pane of glass. Good, it's not totally reflective. I don't like super reflective screens on laptops anyways, because I often use them in dark rooms. Please remove Peekaboo. Yeah, but at least it has a privacy shutter. There we go. And I guess red means it can't see anything. So I won't have to go into the BIOS and disable the camera like I did with the Turdshiba. Windows 10, Intel Core i5 with Iris Xe, whatever the heck that is. Some kind of integrated graphics, I don't know. Please remove when you first use it. Okay, well, we've removed it, and now the thing is off the power button. And alright, let's see, this is why I run when it's charging, right? It better, it's a laptop. Lenovo. So what's the point of this thing? This is a service laptop, and I got a little thing of dust on the... What the? The keyboard lights up. My dad would like this laptop. See what that looks like in full dark mode, especially since I have a... Hey! What? It just turned off. Is it that dead that it... No, wait a minute. Oh, here we go. Lenovo! Welcome to Windows 10. The keyboard lights up. Gee, I think the gamers had some influence on this one. How do we get the keyboard to light back up again? I just went into full dark mode. Okay, back to light. Lenovo. Just a moment. Hey, how do you want to... That's right. This thing doesn't have an Ethernet jack. We're gonna have to put it on Wi-Fi. Oh man, what kind of pathetic...
Hi there, I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help.
And now it's talking to me.
A little sign in here, a touch of Wi-Fi there, and we'll have your PC ready for all you plan to do.
Well, let's see what this thing has
Use
for...
your voice or the keyboard along the way, and if you'd like me to stay quiet, just select the little microphone icon towards the bottom of your screen. If you need an assistive screen reader, press the Windows, Control, and Enter keys at the same time to turn on narrator. Okay, enough intro. Let's dig in.
Yeah, so if my dad bought a...
Your region is set to the United States. Is that right?
Shut up already. Uh-oh. I think I just insulted Cortana. Click. How do we turn this thing off? Just push the button. Well, let's get the thing off the lens. Finally, something resembling an actual usable computer. So yeah, I went and got the PicTech mouse, the little one that I said was a little too small, and here's the default Lenovo background. Okay, Lenovo, why on earth do you think that anybody with any sense of style is going to want a default Windows theme that's pea yellow with a background that looks like motor oil? We gotta do something about this.
Epic fail.
This could take a while.
Epic fail.
There we go. That's more the kind of look I'm looking for. And it's good to have some ambition in life. So it's function and spacebar to turn on the lit up keys on the keyboard on this thing. It's pretty cool. The Lenovo thing also gets nice and shiny in dark mode conditions as well. Because of the color theme and whatnot, I think the mouse I want to pair this with is actually the IntelliMouse Classic rather than any of the PicTechs or anything. But we'll play along for now. Now there's something really important. Before we get into benchmarking this thing, let's fire up and let's get the properties of this thing here. So we are playing with something really new. This is 11th gen Intel Core i5. 8 gigs of RAM. I think it can be upgraded and stuff like that. 512 gig SSD. I thought this was a 250, but it's actually a 512. So we can actually put a game or two on this thing. So guess what game I want to put on this thing? See how good those Intel Iris graphics are and stuff along those lines. It's a laptop, but every time I pick up a laptop, I'm always curious, how much of a console killer have these things become? Of course, I imagine I might have gotten better results with an AMD Ryzen laptop, but 11th gen Intel Core. We'll take it for a spin. Plus, this laptop has more of a work-type function anyways. Alright, let's get ready for some benchmarks, and how about we bring in the IntelliMouse, since that would fit the color scheme of the keyboard a lot better. Ah, there we go. The visual themes match at last. Plus, the classic IntelliMouse is kind of more office-y than most of the gaming stuff I use anyways. So yeah, if I went on a business trip, this is the mouse I'm taking with me. It matches the keyboard. Everything nicely matches, even though it's all blue here. Alright, let's run some benchmarks. Beginning with the old classic Nova Bench. It's on here, right? I got weather in Washington, D.C. because I haven't set location settings on here yet. Let's start with our classic Nova Bench. Let's see what this 11th Gen Core i can do and get some previews as to what kind of 3D this thing can do. 11th Gen Core i5, 3.82 gigahertz, that's a variable speed and whatnot. Intel Iris Xe, and why don't we do a quick check on the kilowatt. So when we're not doing anything fancy, this thing's down to a handful of watts before we start slamming the heck out of the system. So a handful of watts when it's not doing anything fancy. So this thing is lower wattage. This thing is lower wattage than the Turdshiba. And if I can find something with enough wattage to replace this block using USB-C, I could probably charge this laptop off of a solar panel, meaning that this i5 is just a little bit closer to off-grid computing, which is something I've been wondering would happen one of these days with the way mobile devices were going and how laptops are chasing after them to stay competitive. Alright, let's get the icons off the screen, and for a nice clean look, Nova Bench in 3, 2, 1. Nova Bench on the new laptop. We're gonna troll people a bit if we publish the results to the internet. Of course, I don't have any way to save my results just yet, so we'll run tests again afterwards. I was gonna put down, like, you know, snuck into Best Buy or something for the computer name. But I do know from the net tops at work, actually, that even computers meant to be used in one place, like net tops and stuff, are really going after power efficiency, because power efficiency plays into your overhead. If you gotta be running a computer and your choices are between a 5-watt device and a 50-watt device, why not have the nice, cool machine? Okay, here's our graphics. 30 FPS on 720p, about 30 FPS on 720p for the Nova Bench test with Direct 3D 11. Maybe we have like an Xbox 360 in this thing, essentially. Well, the fun part is it has Bluetooth built in, so I can actually just pair up an Xbox controller and play something on this thing. Play some stuff. Hey, at least it's 1080 now. 2035. Before we get into the results, let me just double check my display here. It is, yeah, it's a 1080. Yeah, it's a 1080 display. All right. CPU score 1253. So this thing has more number crunching capabilities than Monolith. Yeah, Monolith's getting old. RAM 236, GPU 339. I think that's on par with like a 1050 Ti or something. Or maybe it was more like a 750 or something. I can't remember what graphics card I had that scored 300 points in Nova Bench here. Disk score 207 with read and write speeds of 1600 megabytes per second, telling me that the SSD in this thing is an M2 and not a 2.5 inch. So if I want to upgrade the storage, we're going shopping for M2, or shudder, it's soldered on. Well then, 2035. Why don't we just go compare it to Monolith's most recent scores? There we go. Nothing's set up on this computer yet, but if I have my handy-dandy phone, check my Chrome bookmarks, find my NovaBench page, and MultimediaJay, January 14th, 2021 at midnight. Woohoo! Last Monolith test was 2535, 985, 1044, 287, and 219. So this beats it in CPU, struggles in GPU, and it's in the ballpark with everything else. I got a faster write speed for the M2 in that sucker versus the 1600s for this one. But yeah, 2035 versus 2535. So my question is though, which of my systems had a GPU score around 300? What did that equate to? It most certainly was not the RTX 2060 in Monolith. Not any of my recent cards. Even my 1050 Ti and my 760 score higher. We're probably gaming in 720p. It's the only way to work on this thing. Like I said, probably an Xbox 360 that only guzzles a few watts. We're still going to try running ESO on this thing, regardless. See if we can get it going in low mode or something, especially with that new multi-threaded rendering thing, since this thing has a little extra CPU to throw around compared to Monolith. Okay, let's see what we have for user benchmark here. Benchmarks running, and it'll pop open in Microsoft Edge of all browsers. We're going to keep the results anonymous. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Well, we do know, well, this is an i5 with 8 virtual cores, with 8 logical processors, so architecture-wise, it has the same logical processors as the i7 from over 5 years ago. This whole Monolith as an old computer thing is gonna take some getting used to, but with computer part prices nowadays, it's really something that, yeah, that's a problem. With computer part prices and things like that these days, until some of these shortages get done, I mean, just the case alone for the replacement for Monolith would be $200. Plus, we have AMD Ryzen about to go to a new socket, and then Intel's about to change a few things as well. Okay, here we are. What's this? The Windows game bar is interfering with the 3D performance. No, I don't want to record my gameplay of this benchmark. Alright, now this is starting to look like an office computer. It's like when I brought home that no, this is too terrible. No. 720p low mode. Oh, wait, we gotta do this. Skill bench. Oh, wait, once it's full screen, it's not bad. I am terrible at this when I'm holding a camera and my mouse's DPI is too low. This is that skill bench thing that they recently added to user benchmark. It's supposed to measure what the input lag and stuff, but I have totally not a mouse that I use. The DPI is off, everything is off. Oh man, I am palming this mouse all over the place, and it doesn't have an on-the-fly DPI adjustment. Woohoo! So this is probably my worst score ever. 300, 295, lowest 4. Yeah. Alright. Can we just move on? No, I don't want to play this again.
Epic fail.
Because the speaker on this thing is about as, it's on par with the speaker, well, camcordering stuff anyways. Doink! There we go. Close that out. Alright. Performance results. Raft, nuclear submarine, surfboard. An RTX 2060S is 100%. This thing's 21%. This GPU can handle older games, will struggle to render recent games at resolutions greater than 1080. Nuclear submarine, so gaming is only a raft. Yeah, 720p low mode. That's what we'll do for the ESO test. Speaking of which, It is notably past sunrise here at the Geek House. I best get some sleep sooner rather than later. So one last look before we leave ESO downloading for the rest of the morning. Whatever. Yeah, I'm thinking an Xbox 360 level of graphics or something. 720p low mode. But we'll see. We shall see if we can get ESO to run. And then save its variables. Well, it is the next evening because I forgot to set the sleep settings so that the computer would actually finish the download. So the laptop went to sleep after however long it was, and only 2% of ESO downloaded. So I've actually had to spend the afternoon watching this download over Wi-Fi. All this because I'm still running N routers and haven't really gone too wild with Wi-Fi because I'm more of a fan of wired connections. Regardless, though. Year 1 celebration is going on. Let's just do Richard Goodman. I was leveling some alts earlier. What was this? This defaulted to medium settings. Alright, let's fool around with this. See what we get for frame rates. Of course, I'm going to need to go get, when this doesn't work, I'm going to need to, and we switch to the Steam version, I'm going to need to go get my modified INI file, or my modified user settings text file, in order for my settings from Monolith to come over here, and then we'll see how much it chokes on the near max settings. Alright, ready? Wow, hey, it's running at medium settings, 60 FPS indoors! Of course, the latency is terrible, but whoa, I'm getting 60 FPS on medium setting until it wow! 70 frames per second. It's a little jittery because of a few things. So let's turn on vertical sync. Let's turn on the vertical sync to keep it below 60 and save on CPU cycles. Whoa! I'm playing this game, I'm playing ESO on medium settings. Let's go outdoors. Let's go outdoors. Send my guy to Daggerfall. Send my guy to... Wow! Intel XE on an i5. Whoa! Let's go to Goodman's Geek House and walk outside and see what frame rates we get in Daggerfall. And then play around with... Well, we could just stay in the castle and... Yeah, it is actually going below 60 FPS and getting a little jerky when I move things around, so it's definitely not as powerful in terms of graphics as a lot of the graphics cards I have, including the ones in the Delosauruses, like the 1050 Ti, so... But, medium settings, ESO, medium settings, 60 FPS. We'll just put it on, like, auto-run mode and run through Daggerfall and watch those frame rates. Outside to Glenumbra. Alright, ready? As soon as it drops down... okay, yeah. Okay, dude. We're down below 60 FPS already. 45 frames per second. Yeah, here we go. Down to 30 frames per second. 30 FPS. I think it's scaling everything to try and maintain 30 FPS. Okay, yeah, it's a console. Yeah, okay. Console quality, like Xbox One or whatever, but hey, you know, at least it's playing ESO. It's just playing it jerkier than I'd like. So, let's see here. This is full screen mode. Let's see. Settings. It's in windowed full screen. Let's switch over to full-on full screen. Display one. What did it set the resolution to? I didn't pick one. Alright, let's do 1080p. Full screen mode. Why does it look weird? Let's do, let's see, 30 FPS. Let's take it down to 720p. So 1360, let's do 1280 by 720. Alright, that's not too bad. Still like 50 frames per second, so we can play it like Xbox quality or something. Medium settings, we're getting 42 frames per second. The thing is though, until the new rendering thing came on, this always happened in Daggerfall, even with my, even on Monolith. So we're already back to 60 FPS. Alright, let's put it in windowed full screen, because that's what I'm most likely to play it on anyways. Because I like being able to Alt-Tab without the screen blanking. And, well now it's at 720p windowed full screen. Go back to full screen, put it at 1080p, 1920 by 1080, and now windowed full screen. There we go. Set it based on the resolution. And I hope it doesn't try anything in 4K. Yeah, so now we're getting 30 frames per second at medium settings.
Yes, Saturday, we will party all night.
Okay, enough of those dumb references. I only made that kind of a reference because of the reference in the last Lenovo video series I did 5 years ago, so it's a dank meme at this point, whatever. So yeah, but it literally did take all night to get ESO switched over to the Steam version, because downloading stuff off of old N Wi-Fi is slow compared to what you can do nowadays. So I brought over, after switching over to the Steam version of ESO, I brought over the user settings file from the other computer, which means we're trying to run ESO on this laptop at monolith settings. This will not work, and we're going to have to turn it down. I'll just say that right now. Here's the thing, the new multi-threaded rendering thing, we're gonna have to skip the video again, of course, but the new multi-threaded rendering thing is now gonna be turned on. So at monolith settings, let's go to Daggerfall and see how horrible the frame rate is. 25 frames per second and input lag all over the place. Of course, monolith settings are not going to work with this laptop, given the hardware that's involved. We are playing with integrated graphics here. 25 frames per second. No, just no.
Epic.
30 frames per second inside the Daggerfall Geek House until I start moving around, then it starts flirting with, 30 FPS. Alright, yeah, so obviously monolith settings are not going to work. What do we need to drop this down to in order to, let's put it down to medium settings. What are we going to have to drop this down to get 60 frames per second indoors, and then go outdoors and we'll see just what we have to set it to. Granted, this is not going to save when I close the game, so it's just for the, here we go. So we get 60 FPS on medium indoors. So this is what we were doing previously. Now let's go outside and see how much of a difference the new rendering engine, or the new rendering priority, or whatever it is, see how much of a difference that makes in Daggerfall. Oh look, it's raining out. And we're getting about 40 frames per second instead of 30 frames per second. Let's put it down to low mode. I think a lot of the issue too, I'll put it down to low mode. I think a lot of the issues with ESO on this hardware specifically is there's video card eye candy type features that would work much, much better with a real graphics card than with integrated graphics. Yeah, I know, Intel Iris, but yeah, that has its limits. Down to low mode we go. Like I figured, console-ish killer, but more in line with the old Xbox One than, say, you know, the Series X or anything. Maybe even 360 if you have to drop it down to 720. Bingo! At 1080p, we're playing the game in low mode. Sometimes down to 58 FPS, but it's very similar to when I was using... There we go. It's very similar, of course, to when I was using these monolith on almost maxed out. Makes sense, too, because the Dellosaurus has come down to medium, and so it would make sense that an integrated graphics like this would go to low mode. However, despite having the graphical fidelity of a horrible console version of the game, or whatnot, maybe one for like the Xbox One, the original Xbox One, it's still playable at 60 frames per second. It just looks hideous. Then again, I'm playing it on a laptop panel. I probably shouldn't be too concerned about that. Yeah, so yeah, it's like playing a console, essentially, which is why... yeah, you don't go looking for laptops to play video games on.
Epic fail.
At 720, however, we're at 55 frames per second. So maybe we could just play the game at 720p. I mean, it's gonna look hideous no matter what. So why not just drop the resolution a notch and then turn some eye candy back on? This is 720p medium and it's getting about 55 frames per second. I guess I can get solid, well, I can get solid 60s with 1080 low. So, yeah, it's hanging around 60, but it's not reliable. It's usually like 53 frames per second or something. So a little on the choppy side. So 1080 low, 720 medium. That's basically what this thing is doing. So, yet another situation where if I crank the graphics too high, I get input lag anyways. But Yeah, I think I'd be better off just playing in 1080 low. And just for fun, here's minimum mode for those people out there that are desperate as all heck to make Elder Scrolls Online look like a PlayStation 2 game. Oh man. Well, at least the computer's better than this.
Epic fail.
And I suppose while we're messing around with all this ESO stuff, we should probably check at the kilowatt here. 40 watts max, just like when it's charging up. And we know that with regular computer stuff, it'll go down to a handful of watts, like 5 watts or 10 watts or something like that, 8 watts, something like that. Definitely a lot of progress along the power efficiency front these days. And just as an example of that, before we wrap things up here, 7 watts, 6 watts, I mean really, this is awesome. Yet another computer that does basic stuff at only single-digit watts. Helps with battery life, helps keep things cool, and of course power efficiency in general. This is what drives me to go for bang for buck, power-wise, on my desktops. Because there's devices like this that I can do basic web browsing and email and stuff with only a handful of watts. That's what I'm chasing after, is a computer that ramps way the heck up in order to run games, and then drops way the heck down when doing just about everything else. And now we've come to the finale of this whole laptop experiment, a Lenovo experiment, IdeaPad 11th Gen Core i5 experiment, etc., etc., etc. We need to give this thing a name. It's a MultimediaJay computer after all, so why not? So, this laptop is a service laptop. It's here to help troubleshoot things, take on trips. If I have to take a computing environment somewhere else, for whatever reason, this laptop is it. It's basically going to be what the Turdshiba should have been, but ultimately wasn't because things kept breaking on it. The Turdshiba still works, it's just living out its days essentially as a bedroom TV, doing little else besides playing YouTube videos. This, however, is a laptop that is sturdy and has all the punch and the speed to go places and do stuff anywhere I need a PC environment. I have it for very, very nerdy reasons. It's a Lenovo, and it's a continuation of the A Lenovo story thing I did a couple of years ago when setting up that Lenovo for my dad. There is only one name that I would give this thing. This system is what it is for nerdy reasons. So shall it be known as Nerdovo. Probably not the best name I've ever had for a computer, but hey, it's a nerdy laptop, it's here for nerdy reasons. Boom. Have that be the name of the machine. Okay, now that Nerdovo has been christened, let's slide the slider over to max performance and let's rerun those benchmarks and actually save the results, because we're logged in this time. NovaBench on regular mode got 2035. Now let's run this with the performance slider turned all the way up. CPU tests going. So this is probably the only... So 2035 is the target score. We know it had a better CPU than Monolith, but a worse graphics card than everything else. So we wound up having to run ESO in low mode. I think Forza Horizon 4 will probably run in low mode too. We'll see just what low mode gaming looks like on these things. Might be a good use for some quick O-Flick videos as well, to square off various computers versus various games with various hardware. Just like we saw with Forza with no graphics card. Okay, Intel Iris 30, about 34 to 35 FPS. I think we were closer to 30 FPS on the graphics test. 35, 30, okay, it's dipping to 30 with some things, some stuff here and there. This is 720p, by the way, about 35 frames per second. Of course, I'm more of a 60 FPS person, so I'd rather have games look bad than play them at 30 FPS these days. 2022, still in the ballpark. 1255 CPU, 347 GPU, etc. 8 gigs of RAM. Physically, I wonder if that's just one stick. Wonder if there's a dual channel option if we upgrade it to 16 gigs. I'm gonna have to see what an extra stick of RAM would be for this thing. Yeah, there I go, voiding warranties already. First we gotta see, you know, how often we use this darn thing in terms of servicing computers or having... Another thing I forgot to mention was having something to do while I'm working on another computer. Like if something's downloading or installing, I wanna have some fun going on the side. Alright, so yeah, 2022 versus 2035 earlier, a couple more programs running, a little more CPU usage in the background. Let's check out user benchmark one last time. User benchmark, and what I'm sure is going to be another horrendous score at that skill bench thing. Let's see, 67, 55, 307, 270, etc. I forgot to save my results in NovaBench. They weren't that exciting to begin with. These, however, can be renamed after the fact, so we're gonna mess with people when we upload these to the website. Gotta see if I'm logged in. Oh, look, Komodo's throwing a fit. Treat it as an installer and updater. Doo-da-doo-da-da-da-da-da. One core read throughput 19. Is that right? Latency check. C drive 1200 and 1091. So there's already some differences there. 1087, 47.3, 116.3, 65.6, 973.6, 431.9. All right, graphics. Yeah, I mean it's a 30 FPS gaming device pretty much. If you want to play in 60, you'll have like Nintendo 64 graphics quality. Can't say I haven't done that before. I mean, I did play F-Zero X back when it was a current game, and I thought it was good despite horrendous polygon graphics and whatnot, in order to squeeze 60 FPS out of that. But yeah. Yeah, this definitely looks like an integrated graphics. Okay. Time for our little horrendous skill check. This is the terrible mouse for this. Actually able to hit stuff this time. Probably because I'm a little more used to the mouse. Oh, well, now I'm hitting the edge of the mousing surface. I'm hitting the laptop trying to hit stuff. There's like a strategy to this. Skill bench. Why is this even in the... It makes me want to just use NovaBench again. I think Ashens used that in a channel trailer. That's why I associate that classical piece with Ashens. Oh, yeah. The antivirus is putting it on the Do Not Disturb list. Same as before, right? Yeah. Raft, nuclear submarine, surfboard. Whatever. And now, at the end of all of this, it is time to get some revenge. PC health check. Nerdovo. This PC can run Windows 11. Makes me wonder why I'm even doing anything with Windows 10 on this thing. Well, how's that for a weekend project? Welcome to the computer family, Nerdovo. I'm sure we'll find some use for you. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.